Hello and welcome. This is Ravina from the Hindu, and today we are back with yet another webinar. We will be talking about math today. We'll precisely be talking about competency based learning in math. It's a subject that most of us begin to fear after a certain level. In schooling, there is some sort of anxiety, but it's different for everyone. Like for some students, their scores drop by a huge margin. For some students, even though they are able to retain scores, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are able to visualize numbers, or they are truly in sync with the subject. It can also be a result of rote memorization. So, yeah, today we have a set of experts who would guide us into what is competency based learning, and how it can transform or change math education for better. We have Mr. Parijat Jain sir, who is the author of Smart Minds Mathematics series. We have Mr. Umanath Selvan sir, who is popularly known as Vidian. He is also a math popularizer. We have Ms. Geeta Mahashabde ma'am, who is the director of Navnirmiti Learning Foundation. And we have Sir Matthew K. Thomas sir, who is a teacher at Don Bosco, and he is the founder of AIEF. So, yeah, to begin with, I would like our experts to explain what exactly is competency based learning, and what do we mean by it. So, Geeta ma'am, would you like to go first?
Yeah. So the competency-based learning word started coming after NEP 2020 was introduced. And it says that it is against rote learning. Certainly, it is better than rote learning. But for good quality math education, competency based learning is not enough. It has to be learning by understanding and learning only by understanding. That is important for good quality education. What I mean by that is, I will show a very small example. The child may have a competency but may not have understood the thing. For example, a teacher showed this to a child and asked, read this. The child said 11. And the child who had been using Dean's blocks made, the child knew about unit sentence. Even then, the child made this. So the child is looking at the shape and the teacher is expecting the number. So this is where the competency based result will say that the child has understood number 11, but the child has actually not. So, when children construct the numbers themselves, they may be using Dean's blocks or currency notes and coins, or they may be using bundles of sticks and loot sticks. But every child doing for herself and every child thinking for herself is absolutely required for that. So, competency only doesn't satisfy the requirement of quality math learning, and quality math education up to class 8 is a legal right of every child. So we need to go beyond competency and focus on learning by understanding. And when children construct things themselves, they are always constructing with something, but while they are constructing numbers or structures of mathematics, they are building the concept, they are constructing the concept in their mind. Now, NEP has focused quite a lot on foundational math through FLN or Nipun program, but there they are focusing on numeracy. Numeracy is not foundational. What is foundational is thinking. So, children should do it, think about it, talk about it, construct numbers and structures, and they construct the concept in their mind, as I said earlier. But the risk in the way NEP has put it is, they have said that from the aims of education, you design curricular goals. From curricular goals, design competency. From competencies, you design learning outcomes. And then learning outcomes will be measurable. So the objective of competency based is to close the gap in achievement of learning outcomes. That is what NEP says. So, what we want is every child thinking for herself should be at the center and not only the competency. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah, that is an excellent point, that there needs to be understanding beyond just competency. Matthew sir, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. For me, competency-based assessment is the secondary part of competency-based education. So, first of all comes the learning objectives, and then comes the learning outcomes. So, if I explain in layman's language what is competency based education, it is something which cannot be taken out from a child ever. See, rote memorization, what happens is that you are learning a formula, you are vomiting out during the exam, after 1 or 2 years, you forget. But when we talk about competency based education, it is something, skills which remain with us for life. So, are we trying to build resources competency based, or just for the sake of learning some topics we are learning? So, that is how the new national education policy is envisaged. So, the outlook is totally different because the vision of the new education policy is to increase the number of competency based questions in, if you're talking about the assessment, and the general way of teaching itself has to change. So we are talking about students learning at their own pace, because at the moment when we are going to a classroom, many of the teachers may have joined today. So what is important for a teacher is that when you are going to a class of 40 students, we find that different type of learners are there in our classes. And so far what was happening was that we are using a homogeneous method to teach all these groups, heterogeneous group. So they are all coming from different backgrounds, their levels are all different, aptitudes are different, but you are teaching them in the same style. So that is where our competency based education is changing, because the NEP says about art integration, talks about experiential learning, hybrid learning, blended learning. Specific skills through art integration can be discovered, and the child can do a lot of presentations. A lot of internal assessments are involved now. So the entire concept of competency based education is to develop skills in the child, so that that remains, and the child is able to take away whatever the child has learned in school to college, and basically in real life, so which was missing. So real life application. So the most important question that a child is asking a teacher nowadays is that, sir or ma'am, where are we going to use this in real life? I've never used this. So this is a common problem. So the moment we come to real life applications, I think we are beginning our competency based education. And obviously when we are giving competency based education, obviously the assessment is going to be in the right manner, where each child's skills are going to come out, instead of something which the child has mugged up and is likely to forget in a few months or few years.
Okay. Yeah. That would basically be the point of learning anything. If we are able to retain it lifelong and able to apply it to real life situations, that is when we know that it has been truly successful. Parijat sir, would you like to give your introductory remarks on the topic?
Yeah. Hi. Thank you, Ravina. So competency-based education, what I think let's understand what competency means, right? I think competency is defined as demonstrable ability or demonstrable capability to use knowledge and skills in the real world, right? And as we think about competency building education, there we must understand that there are different types of competencies that can be built. Now, specific to math itself, let's say two students are getting equal marks in an exam. It doesn't mean that they are equally proficient across the different competencies that are required for mathematics, right? One could be better at pattern recognition, the other could be better at data interpretation, one could be better at critical thinking, the other could be better at modeling with variables. you know they could have varying numerical proficiencies, etc., etc. And so while in a traditional model we would think that if two students would get equal marks, they are equally proficient or competent in a particular subject. I think competency based education takes that focus to different capabilities within a subject that are required in real life for a student to be able to apply those skills, whether it's in a profession, whether it's in your personal situation, etc. And I think that's the real difference. As we transition from our traditional teaching methods to competency based education, Eventually, educators and students will realize that somebody is more proficient in numerical capability, somebody is more proficient in data interpretation, somebody is better at pattern recognition, and whoever needs more practice in numerical capability should be given those types of questions more to practice and improve their capability. Somebody who doesn't understand data interpretation needs to do that. Somebody who can't, let's say, manipulate expressions or express variables and associate them with real quantities needs to understand that aspect before they can go on and learn higher forms or more complex algebra. And that is the fundamental, I feel, starting point of competency based education. And it's great that we are now at the cusp of this transition where we are really thinking about understanding and developing the skills which will help students for life, rather than just seeing a number in terms of how many marks did you get in an exam and then judging the proficiency of that student in that subject. I think, Ravina, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Year on year.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Vidyan sir, would you like to give your opening remarks on the topic?
Yes, I think others have covered a lot on competency, but the main challenge, what I see in competency-based education, is the understanding among the common public and especially the teaching community. We have a very huge gap between the theory, what we are discussing, and what is in practice. And we are all over everywhere, not only Tamil Nadu or India. Everywhere we followed some traditional methods. That doesn't mean it is bad or for that point of time it was very important. And as during every decade the uh, skill evolves, the teaching methodology evolves, the learning capability evolves. So there and when we are shifting from, we now call it as traditional method. So that would have been latest method, say 50 years back. So there, when competency-based education is there, we need to granularize, like Prajit was telling, and this article was also mentioning a couple of weeks back. What is competency-based education has to be granularized. It has to explain what it is actually, what are the competencies that are expected, what are the specialization that are expected. More before going into competency-based assessment, I think there has to be a wider conversation among the teaching community on what is competency-based teaching as well. So you can assess a student based on competency only when you teach that way as well. That so the teaching pedagogy also has to change accordingly to cater competency based, and everybody needs to understand why we need a competency based education, because there is some demand or there is some evolution in the course of education. There we need to have a shift or drift in competency towards competency based education. And as rightly pointed, this is not fully satisfied, but it is a transition from the rote learning to something else what we are expecting, and we are just keeping a step ahead. But there has to be a lot of conversation before implementing this. It is already come into place, but I think there needs to be some granularization of what exactly is competency-based education in regards to mathematics or language or whatever it is. A plain application of whatever you learn into real life doesn't actually give a complete picture of competency to the teaching community as such. Because I feel this when I interact with a lot of teachers, a lot of students, educators. There is a big gap between what is actually in the text, actually in the book, and what is in practice. Yeah. With this, I conclude the initial remark.
Thank you so much, sir. We already have some questions coming in. Before we move on to the questions part, I would like to inform our viewers that those who ask the three best questions will get a free subscription to the Hindu Online for 3 months. So yeah, let's move on. Before I move on to audience questions, I would like to ask Parijat, sir, why is it important for everyone to learn math?
Yeah, thank you, Ravina. I think um, it's incredibly important for all every student to not just learn but understand mathematics. And as Galileo has said that mathematics is the language in which God has written the universe. You can't understand many aspects of your daily life without understanding mathematics. Let's say, for example, as an individual, you want to budget for your home for the month. Well, it's very difficult to do that without having at least a basic understanding of mathematics. Now, as we progress, everybody wants to make more money, become richer, more prosperous, etc. But you really need to understand the concept of compounding and saving, to understand that it's not the monthly inflows that will make you rich over the course of many months and years, but it's actually the saving and the compounding over a period of time, which is far more powerful than the monthly inflow. Now, if you don't understand compounding, it's very difficult for you to actually internalize what to do and what actions to take in the short term or the long term. If we take any profession, for example, a carpenter or a CNC machine operator, they would be far more effective at their job if they knew basic math. If you have a block of wood and you want to cut a table from it, such as so the wastage is as low as possible, an experienced carpenter may be able to do it on the basis of his or her experience. But understanding of math, understanding of angles will definitely make you a better carpenter. Similarly, if you're a CNC machine operator, understanding what those digits mean as you're operating the machine will make you a far more effective operator. And so I think there is an incredible requirement today to make sure that kids and students understand mathematics, understand the impact of numbers in their life, in their personal life or their professional jobs, and to get a sense of what those numbers mean. If I save 50 rupees today or 100 rupees today every month or every week, if and that compounds at X% over the course of the next 10 years, what does that mean versus spending it today? Those decisions can only be taken if people understand mathematics and internalize the consequences of one action versus the other.
Yeah, so it is an integral part of our life in a lot ways, in a lot of ways. We will move on to some questions from the audience. First, Vivek Montero, he's asking, good evening. Does the NEP 2020 address the mandate of RT 2009 for every child to get math education of good quality? What does it say about achieving a good quality outcome for every child? Geeta ma'am, I think we were going to discuss this anyway. Would you like to take it now?
Yeah, so NEP does not mention about right to education at all. And NEP has a disconnect from the ground reality actually, because it was passed during COVID and it does not mention COVID. And there has been, we all know, and we all have been working with it for children, that there is a big learning gap because of COVID break. Second thing is about what you said, Ravina, initially, that there is a fear of mathematics which gets developed. Our experience is about 50% children are scared of mathematics by the time they go to class 5. Now, the new textbooks which have come for class 6 have some very good problems, but giving them a heap of good problems is not helpful at all when the child is not comfortable with the basic concepts and the child has a big fear in her mind and they get anxiety. So, the Vivek sir, I would like to say that the government has to take responsibility of ensuring that every child gets high quality education, and of all subjects, including mathematics. But that is not happening at the central government level, and NEP is being pushed in all the states, even on the states which are ahead of what NEP is saying in many aspects. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That brings me to my next question. Since it's connected, we will take that first. I think Vidyan sir, wanted to talk about what are different states saying about this.
Uh, yes, I think almost all these states have uh, accepted NEP except for few. So even Tamil Nadu had given a state education policy, and it has briefly mentioned, sorry, in detail, it has mentioned about taking competency-based education everywhere, especially in mathematics. But the biggest challenge is changing the mindset of the entire education community, as well as now education community, I would say, not just the teaching community or the educators, but actually the parents has to be a partners of education. We have to move to that state, because we have been at least 2 to 3 generations would have got good amount of education, so they have to become educational partners. So there has to be a wider uh, conversation, as I was mentioning earlier, and educating about competencies. So state, even Tamil Nadu is in the next curriculum, they are bringing about competency in all the subjects, and especially more important when you talk about competency in mathematics. Somebody was mentioning the comment also, it has to be interdisciplinary as well. It's not about learning mathematics numeracy or pattern recognition or any aspect. It is not about just mathematics. Earlier it was like very compact, it was individual learning, like what is addition, what is subtraction, what is shapes. Now it is like you need to apply where you need to take numeracy, and where you need to take shapes and apply, bring it everything together, and that's where we are applying. So it is about actually learning the basics, and there was a gap of where to apply it and how to apply it. And that is where I think competency based education is coming into picture. All the government uh, are already taking in NEP, and Tamil Nadu government is also implementing this in the state education policy, especially this competency I'm mentioning. They have mentioned that in the SCP in detail, and that is going to come up shortly, I think, by next year in their curriculum framework as well. It is
Uh,
the call of the time, actually, as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So I think we will move on. We have discussed what is competency-based learning, but now how do we assess it? We do have a question from Mr. Anand Yadav, and he says, in a competency-based education system, how can teachers ensure fair assessment when students have different learning styles and different learning speeds? I think Matthew sir said this thing that there are different students and they have different competencies. So sir, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, sure. So when we talk about different levels of learning of different students, let us also understand that the competency-based education, we are not thinking about just one exam. Okay, there is a 20% is internal assessments now. So in the internal assessment, some very good thing that has happened in the new paper pattern is that 5 marks is given for subject enrichment. That means you are giving a project or you are doing some practical activities, and you are working on different art integration projects and so on. Where the child is a good artist or good in singing or clay modeling or puppetry or whatever it is, he's able to express an idea in terms of what the child is knowing. I mean, it could be a mathematical concept, it could be science, it could be languages. Then we have, besides the subject enrichment, we are having a lot of lab activities in mathematics, just like sciences. So, for example, if you are just telling them a formula that area of a circle is pi r square, but in practical, we are actually demonstrating that how it is coming, that how that pi r square is coming, or why is the volume of a cube side cube. So different formulas are being derived in the practical classes. And the third aspect is that besides the pen paper test, we are also dealing with learners of different kinds, because see, everybody is not good at writing down answers. So we are also giving them an opportunity for verbally answering questions. That is, besides the pen paper test, 5 marks are allotted for multiple assessments. So when we talk about multiple assessment, it could be a crossword, it could be a debate, it could be a quiz, it could be sharing of something which the child has learned in a different manner. So all these are included in the competency base. So let's look at the whole exam pattern holistically. Then we will be able to understand that there is a provision of 20 internal assessment where the schools are required to work out different aspects of different children. So when we come to the 80%, then that is a set pattern which has got, multiple choice questions. The perception of multiple choice questions is that it is easy, but most of the teachers, when they go for evaluation, we realize that there is even the toppers are making mistakes in the MCQs. Then we have different type of questions. It's not the same type. We have long answer type question, short answer type question, assertion reasoning questions, case based study. So, and the entire paper is based on Bloom's taxonomy. So every child is going to score in some part of the paper. It is not that the child is going to score very poor marks. So if you see, the pass percentage has gradually increased and students are scoring better marks as compared to the previous years in these papers. The high marks have reduced, but the number of students who are clearing the papers is increasing. So that is the marked change in the previous paper and the new paper, because now almost out of 80 you are having 20 marks of MCQs, right? So that is in accordance with actually the entrance exam. So if you go for IITs and the CUETs, everything is based on MCQ. So ultimately, that percentage is going to increase in the coming years. And so it is not a question of memorizing some geometry question and writing down the proof of that theorem, or writing down that. And the first question when there is an assessment, the child will say, from which book is it coming, or is it coming only from NCRT? So that system of education, we are gradually moving from memorizing questions, and where the child is able to think logically and come up with the correct solutions.
Okay, yeah, this is something I have noticed a lot in students, that tell us from which textbook you're going to ask the question, so then we will prepare accordingly. So that's clearly not sustainable. I think Parija sir would also like to weigh in on this. We had discussed that CBSC would frame 50% of questions as CBA. So how does this go forward? How does this look going forward?
Yeah. No, I think as part of the shift that we were talking about of being able to build, competence or skills that can be applied in real life from a subject specific as mathematics, it's important that the type of questions that are asked in examinations or in any assessment for that matter reflect understanding versus only memorization. So as Matthew sir was talking about assertion reason based questions, those questions are of inference based competence, because unless and until the student has the ability to understand the assertion, understand the reason, and then say whether assertion or the reason is correct or incorrect, and whether the reason is the right reason for the assertion to be true or not, that inference and reasoning is a skill. Right now, that skill is required in your daily life, even after you graduate from either 10th or 12th, etc. So the assessments will see a gradual shift in terms of a higher percentage of these types of questions. Whether it's MCQs, whether it's case based questions, we will see a lot more types of questions which reflect practical situations and understanding of those practical situations in which to apply mathematical concepts, right? So rather than giving a simple question of trigonometry, which has certain angles of a triangle listed and you need to find something, you may find a question in which you say, let's say a peacock is flying and towards the snake and the snake is running away. and they both start at the same time, and the peacock, let's say, catches the snake. Now you have to understand that the time at which the peacock starts and the snake starts is the same, right? And though even though the speeds are different, then you need to calculate the lengths. So I think there are those situations where you need to understand a particular situation and then apply a concept, rather than just being able to answer a question based on either memory or application of a formula. And that is what will help build understanding in different contexts in which you need to apply knowledge, and hence build competency in students.
Yeah, so understanding the situation and then using reasoning, being able to use proper reasoning to arrive at the correct answer would be the way to go. Mr. Anand has actually added to his own question, and he says, how can AI and digital tools assist teachers in designing personalized and effective competency? Do we already have AI tools being deployed to do this, or where do we stand as of now? Parijat sir or Matthew sir, either of you.
No, I'm happy to take a stab at it. Obviously, Matthew sir will have more context as he's in the classroom on a day-to-day basis. But I think AI is definitely a powerful tool to be able to help educators, to be able to help the community itself improve the understanding of a subject for students. What we must understand, though, that AI is a tool, and insofar as the tool is, even now it's not 100% accurate. You may ask AI a question and you may get a wrong answer. And so I think the importance of AI in terms of being able to do everything that an educator does is probably overestimated. I think educators need to use AI and need to use AI intelligently, enable to be able to guide the students through different forms of competencies or typologies of questions that someone is struggling with. And that would be the best use of AI, where AI kind of supplements the educator in the classroom to help improve the understanding of different competencies of every student. The AI can be used in terms of assessment designing. The AI can be used in terms of designing a curriculum or designing the strategy for teaching a type of kid who doesn't have numerical proficiency, or a type of kid who doesn't have data interpretation skills. But eventually it is up to the educator to use that intelligently and get the right outcome for students.
Thank you so much, sir. Matthew sir, would you like to answer
Yeah,
this
just to
question?
add on to what Sir said, which he has put in very beautifully about AI, that if you are trying to substitute your teaching with AI, at the moment it is not possible. But he used the word supplement. So that's the correct word. We need to supplement our teaching. So we cannot say that we are against AI or we are not going to use AI. A simple example could be like, see, CBSE is releasing sample papers for class 10 and 12, but they release only one paper. Now, with the help of AI, you can just put it on ChatGPT or any AI model and say that generate 10 question papers of this kind. So what is happening is that the child is able to do now not one paper, but based on the design of the board paper, CBSE has issued one paper, he is able to do 10. And similarly, for assessments, he can just give a command and get the solutions of that entire paper. So this is where AI helps, because now we are not restricted to only the classroom. It's anytime, anywhere learning. So suppose a child used to get stuck in a problem, he had to call the teacher at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock when the teacher is not available. So that is where AI is coming, because the child can now access the answers or practice more of such type of questions using AI. So I think this change is for the better, and but at the same time we cannot substitute our teachers. Teachers are an integral part of implementing the competency-based model. But we can definitely say that AI is going to help us, and it's going to change. The face of education is going to change rapidly in the next 1 or 2 years.
Thank you so much, sir. So now that we have discussed, what kind of assessments need to be done for CBA, what does the report card for such assessment looks like? How would it be different? Matthew, sir, would you like to take this?
Yeah, so this is one of the most beautiful aspect of the entire competency-based education which has come out and the NAP, that is the HPC, Holistic Progress Card. And it is something which is very close to my heart because I have worked on the HPC for a lot of time with many schools. And what is important in this holistic progress card is it's very different from our traditional report cards that we used to get or we used to issue over the past many years. Because one thing that we noticed in the past report cards is that we were a nation obsessed with marks, right? So if somebody is getting 90 or somebody is getting 80, we will always make a conclusion that the 90% guy is more intelligent or better than the 80, irrespective of how that person is. So we are judging that person on the basis of that report card, which was a single page report card. But the holistic progress card is so beautiful because it's a 360-degree evaluation, number one. So 360-degree evaluation means not only is the teacher making the assessment, there is a self-assessment, you are examining yourself, there is the peer assessment, your friends are assessing you, and there is a parent assessment. That's why it's called a 360-degree assessment, which makes it so holistic. So the teacher may feel that the student is very good, but when we are allotting a project to the student, we find that the student is not cooperating with the others. Yeah, or sometimes we find that the student is very quiet in the class, but he has got leadership qualities. And these are the skills which are important for them in real life. So if the holistic progress card is seen at different levels, it is going to come out. See, so what is the self-assessment? For a small child, you will think, what is self-assessment? So it could be as simple as that. Do you like going to school? Which subject do you like? The parent assessment would be, is your child interested in going to school? Is he enjoying studies? So simple things like that at the primary level. Of course, at the senior level, the kind of questions will also change. So everybody is involved in that report card. Everybody, not the only the teacher's viewpoint or the subject teacher or the class teacher. Everyone is in. The principal is involved. The coordinators are involved. So a lot of remarks and assessments form your entire personality. And this report card is not pertaining to 1 year. So if the whole NEP is studied, the 9 to 12, is going to fall under one bracket. And a certain percentage of 9, 10, 11, 12, that complete report card is going to be made. And we know that this credit system is also getting implemented, where the credits are carried from one class to the other and even at the college level. So these are all very beautiful things about the holistic progress card. So your overall personality is coming out. Not only the marks. Marks is one thing, but is he respectful? Is he punctual? Is he disciplined? Has he got empathy? Has the person got leadership qualities? Is he able to collaborate with others? So these are small things which will come out in this, and that also along with the marks, which is statistically, if you see, only the quantity is not there. The quality of the person is also going to come out, which will help colleges and obviously, the workplace, wherever that person goes, to judge the character and the personality of the child in a more holistic way.
Thank you so much, sir. There is definitely a lot more to discuss about CBA on how it should be implemented in the classroom, what kind of support structures are needed for teachers, what kind of tools are needed, etc. But before we move on to that discussion, I would like to take one question from our audience member, Mr. KK Murthy. He says, is mathematics only an instrument for enabling science, technology, and engineering? Geeta ma'am, would you like to answer this? It's an interesting question. Ma'am, you're on mute.
If we are teaching math by understanding, if children are doing and learning things, the children do develop confidence. And that we have seen in thousands of children across India in different states. The point is, if we encourage children to think right from the beginning and give them a very slowly, increasing level of difficulty, graded problem sequences in the language of things, pictures, actions, and later on, towards the end, it will be numerals. So, just I'm also combining one another person's question in this. So, if this is 3 plus 2, then this is 2 plus 3. Children don't have to learn a new rule for that. And this is 2 times 3. So when children construct themselves, they don't make mistakes like multiplying instead of adding or things like that. Now we also can give them a problem like this, that make squares using these blocks. So children make all different squares using these blocks, and then they learn what are the square numbers. So here the child is discovering the concepts for herself. Now, while doing this, they are thinking. So their logic, their reasoning, their critical thinking, their decision making, all these skills are getting developed. All these thinking skills are getting developed. Now, if you have these skills, only then you can go to a leading position in any of the fields. So mathematics is not only for leaders in engineering or mathematics or science. Mathematics is for every field. And even if you want to become a politician, and if you understand mathematics, if you understand data, if you understand numbers, then you can be one of the good leaders. So for all fields to go into the positions of decision making, it's very important to learn mathematics. Now what happens is, if the mathematics is kept in abstract, so we are teaching them with paper pencil and we are assessing with paper pencil, we are not assessing children's mental math abilities, we are not assessing the practical abilities. For example, if I say that this is 2 square and this is 3 square, then I'm adding 2 square plus 3 square, and then I will have to add 2 more rectangles to make it a complete square. Now, if this was 2 and this was 3, then this is 2 plus 3. And this is also 2 plus 3. So this is a square of 2 plus 3, which has 4 components. Now, if I say that this is A and this is B, then this is A square, the orange one. This is B square, yellow one. And both of these are equal, and these rectangles are A into B. So this whole thing is A plus B square. Now, if we give children materials to handle, while handling, um, whenever you are doing an experiment, there are some mental processes happening, and it is very important that link between doing and the mental processes is very important. And this is how we can take children very comfortably through things to numbers, and also assess them on practical things. Because even if right now whatever is designed is competency based, everything at the end is a paper pencil exam. So they are testing application, which is a good thing, but even the practical applications have to be tested. Because the child who is selling vegetables with his or her mother, they know that if I divide 200 rupees equally among 4 persons, each one will get 50. They give an answer very quickly. But if the same question is there in the written test, they make mistakes while using that procedure and they don't get that answer. So we have to assess children on practical mental math and written, all components and all types of questions where they will get an opportunity to think. But to get that confidence, they have to get experience of success. There is also a question, how do we help the children who are lagging behind? So give them a question at the level where the child is, and then go in a step by step manner to the classroom mathematics, and that works. And it doesn't take too much of time, because children are grown up and they have learned a lot of skills in their daily life. But the point is, if teachers are teaching to the test, that is the truth all over the world. So that is a given reality. Teachers teach to the test. Then we should also have tests which are practical, mental math, and written. And also, we have to be creative. Educators have to be creative in testing children's thinking abilities, their critical thinking, not just in a written test. So if these ways are used, then we have the experience that you can make all children comfortable with school mathematics up to class 10 at least. And you can have a class 10 where all children are enjoying mathematics. They may not do mathematics after class 10, but they are not afraid of mathematics. So this is very important, that we test them also on all components, and we give them graded problem sequences. We have to give them experience of success. If the child fails, the child does not attempt the next question. So giving the questions which are at the children's level, and then going in a step by step manner to a more difficult questions, is the way to develop those skills in all the children. We have to be thinking about every child because that's their constitutional right. So the society accepts that all children are not made for mathematics, and that is the biggest hurdle in learning of math. So I think I've answered, included a couple of questions from the audiences also in what I said right now. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. We do have a lot of questions coming in. I would just like to request our audience members, so those of you who have dropped these insightful questions, could you also drop your email IDs so we can get in touch with you for the free subscription that you receive for these questions. I think there is one more question by Preeti Shah. She says, why do children fear math at primary level? Ma'am, you just said that, there is some fear. Vidyans, or would you like to touch upon this
Yeah.
since, you are always on
Yes.
ground and you do engage with
Yes.
students a lot?
Yes. Thanks, Ravina. Actually, fear is a problem. I think we need to address the mathematics fear in prior to all this. Even before the kid is entering into the school, they are with mathematics fear there by their peers or parents or teachers. Everybody try to give a fear about mathematics even before they enter to the classroom, say KG also. They say maths is a very tough subject. Concentrate on maths. Don't, even if you leave a single step, you will be zero. Things like that are there. I think the primary problem has to be uh, removing this mathematics fear from the children mindset. That will be very very important before applying any of our competency based education or competency based teaching assessment or any of those sort. And there was some other question like children are very active during primary, but it slowly dims down through middle and high school level. That is primarily because the primary maths concentrates on the basics, like numeracy, shapes, basic measurement. What are those things? But as you go to the middle school, across all the boards, CBSE or any state board, they develop into the practical application. Like if you say measurement, they see what is measurement, actual measurement is. Say time, length, weight, or anything. They do go into the practical things, and during the middle school, they learn the practical mathematics actually. And as you go to ninth or above, it is like higher order mathematics. So they will not visualize or see those things in real life. They It will be like sort of almost abstract. So this is the way it has been ordered, structured. The mathematics at the school has been structured, and that's the reason the eagerness towards mathematics is slowly diminishing. But there has to be aggressive steps that has to be taken either inside the classroom or outside the classroom to first remove the mathematics fear from everybody. And as Geeta was also mentioning, mathematics is not a subject. It is actually playing a key role in all the subjects. It plays a major role in critical thinking of a person, and in turn, actually, the other subjects is also more important in making you a successful mathematician or mathematical thinking. Actually, we are losing one word called this mathematical thinking. This is the underlying thing what all the education policies have been trying to say, trying to from the policy they are trying to bring it into classroom, into practice. But there is where the biggest gap is, because in ground level there are still more problems. Like one of the teachers or educators was also mentioning in the comment, is it possible for us to do in 30 minutes or 35 minutes or 40 minutes? We have variety of children in our class. You say we have to give personalized learning. We can take use of AI, but is it possible in 30 minutes or say 45 minutes also, or 1 hour? So is it possible to cater all the children? What is the amount of number of students in a particular classroom? What should be the classroom style, seating arrangement? What is the pedagogy? You have a lot of we keep saying it is all very interesting to learn or hear about what holistic rank card will be, or from Matthew sir. But in practice, there are a lot of difficulties, a lot of practical problems, day-to-day problems for the educators or teachers who deal with the children. So there has to be an immense pressure, immense measure has to be taken to first remove all these hurdles, what a teacher can deliver, effectively use that 45 minutes. The same case it is with all boards, I think. Everybody has to have that complete freedom in the classroom, so that we give a list of these all pedagogies can be practiced. You choose the best one for your students in your classroom. If the level of if the level of children in your classroom is much lower, then use a different pedagogy. You can use different assessment methodologies. You have to have a freedom in giving the pedagogical approach what they can choose. But still, again, I wanted to stress more thing is there has to be more elaborate training for the teachers in understanding what this competency based education is, or uh, what is expected, what are happening around the world, what is happening around India, or what is happening within the state, what are the new measures that are being taken, what are successful, what are the experiences, what each teacher is facing. And there has to be some common repository where you have all these experiences being shared across the state or across the nation. You need to not just have question banks for ninth, 10th. I would prefer there has to be elaborate, extensive question banks that to be generated and shared across the nation, across the state, so that there are lot of competency-based question means there are multiple number of questions in multiple ways that can be assessed. So everything has to be there. And the primary fear among teachers are, especially at the primary level, uh, they think that competency is like indirect questions. I had a personal request saying, sir, please try to have direct questions in the primary level. When we talk about competency, they feel that it is indirect question. Direct question is a straight 1 mark question. What is 5 plus 5? If there are five animals and two more are coming, what is the, even if we ask that, children will not be able to answer. Give 5 plus 2. What is the answer? Equal to question mark. That is the level. So we need to uh, try to talk with more teachers across the nation, across the state, and try to understand their practical issues. The first point in mathematics has to be the mathematics fear has to be removed, and there has to be a lot of joyful way that has to be taught. But what the 21st century skill demands is competency education, so that you have critical thinking, maths communication, mathematical thinking, mathematical reasoning. So these are going to be the base for any children who come out of the schooling system. These skills are expected out of this. So until and unless we, in the fullest sense, we give them the competency-based taste and education, I think we only then we can talk more about how to give competency-based assessment in mathematics or any subject, I feel.
Thank you, sir. Parijat, sir, would you like to add to this? Like, why do students fear mathematics at primary level?
Right. And no, thank you, Rabina. I think I just have a couple of observations. One, not just at primary level, but I think the fear of mathematics increases, at middle and secondary level as well. And in my experience, what happens is that as soon as kids are unable to visualize or understand what is happening, they start fearing math and they start learning math. I think that's one of the major things to understand, that visualization is actually key to understanding math and actually applying math. Now, addition subtraction is easier to visualize. For example, I have five oranges and I take two oranges out of it and there are three left, and therefore five minus two is equal to three. I think you can demonstrate that, and you can make a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old student understand that concept visually, and therefore addition and subtraction seems natural. It seems natural because a student is able to visualize. But as soon as the topics start becoming slightly more complicated, whether it's ratios and proportions, whether it's decimals, whether it's percentages, and I'm talking about, these are topics that are in fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, of various degree of complexity in classrooms today. Then kids start to fear maths because they don't understand what is happening. Let's say, what is a decimal point, and why is 6.06 different from 6.60? And if at that stage the educator and the system actually doesn't help the student understand, this is just a one concept, uh, it will be very difficult for the student to then graduate and apply those concepts, and then if they are expected to give exams and achieve proficiency when the basic concept is not understood. And one of the things is very important is to be able to see math, and that's what I truly believe in, is that visualization of mathematical concepts is an incredibly powerful tool to improve and augment understanding of mathematics subject for everyone, whether it's primary, middle, or senior secondary years in school. And so let's say if kids are thinking about as complex a topic as skew lines, which nobody would be able to understand if they don't understand coordinate geometry basics, but if you see a video or a 2-minute video and an educational tool, you would be able to understand it and then you won't forget it, right? Similarly, in Pythagoras theorem, everybody would remember from their school days, okay, a square plus b square equal to c square, where c is the hypotenuse and a and b are the sides. But how does that work? Why is that true? And it's not just about memorization, but it's about understanding. And if you understand that through visualization, then I think a lot of the fear goes away. And building competencies is happens when you understand a subject. And you understand a subject, I think my firm belief is that you understand math through visualization. And so whatever we can do as participants in the ecosystem, whether classroom teachers who are teaching every day to students, or whether people like me who are developing content for students, to help augment visualization in using technology, using textbooks, using digital means, so that students really see what is happening. Uh, that would, I believe, really help improve the understanding of the subject and remove the fear of mathematics.
Yeah, I think one point that we have been stressing since the beginning of this session is that students really need to be able to see math, to be able to see numbers, and be able to apply it to real life. But there are some questions coming in which are very specific. For example, Rashmi Deshpande says, what role can formative assessments play in helping teachers identify and bridge learning gaps in competency-based mathematics framework? We touched upon competency based assessment, but how does formative assessment help? Matthew sir, since you
Yeah.
yeah.
So, as I said, this whole the paper is divided to two parts: the formative assessments and the summative assessments. So, the formative assessments are different, called by different names, but it is constituting 20% of your exam. So, if it is 80 marks for the board exam, 20% we are giving in for the formative assessments, which is conducted by the school itself. If you're talking about 10th and 12th, and for other classes, it is being done within the classroom or by the school itself using different parameters. So, as I said, there are different ways of testing students by with the help of portfolios, with the help of projects, subject enrichment, practical activities. In English, we have speaking and listening skills through art integration projects, which has really brought about the talent of different people in different forms. Then we have the EPSP project, that is Ek Bharat Shresh Bharat, which was a beautiful project where students from Delhi used to study about Sikkim, and now they are studying about Lakshadweep and Andamans. So which taught the students about another state or union territory, which they would have never done. So when they were doing a project on Sikkim, they were surprised that so many things were there, and they learned about it. And similarly, every state was paired with another state. So these are some initiatives. Now, how is it related to maths? We could relate it with statistically. They used to compare, for example, rainfall, temperature, flora, fauna, population, all those things they made it into bar graph, histogram, pie charts. So it used to be a learning process, and it was a multidisciplinary project up to class 8. And ninth and 10th, they had to do subject wise. So these are all initiatives of the CBSE in providing a lot of uh, ways in which students can actually express their thoughts, not only in the pen paper test. Then they said that go ahead, not only with the pen paper test, go with multiple assessments where you could check just with the help of a discussion, debate, or quiz, or crossword, or a presentation. Now, as Vijayan sir also said, for all implementation to take part, what is the most important wheel of this whole system is the teacher. And unfortunately, that is the most neglected part also. So we have a lot of resource material. Beautiful resource material is, I've gone through Smart Minds book by Parijat sir. It's an excellent book. I'm consisting all the resources. The children, if they go through it, is providing enough and more competency-based questions, and of course, based on knowledge, understanding, application, and skills. But when we talk about the teachers, there are many questions also. Are the teachers sufficiently trained to teach all this? Now, the new books of class 6, 7, 8 have come out in mathematics. And now the question mark of the majority of the teachers is, how do we teach this? Because they are used to a particular format of teaching where there are questions. Now it is more of history of mathematics, or there is a lot of theory of mathematics, and the questions are being developed by the teachers. So how to teach is a big question. And similarly, we are talking about competency based questions, and as many of you have shared, that teacher training should be the number one priority across India, because cities we are still getting information, but what about the rural areas, the hilly terrains? Teachers are not even aware of what is a competency based question, and they are being given a question paper like this. So here is where the formative assessments are coming into role. And we are into teacher training, so we are conducting hundreds and hundreds of teacher training sessions, but that is not enough. And because the number of people who are into teacher training is very less, CBSE is taking teacher trainings, but I don't know whether should be saying this on a public platform like this, but the cost of that is prohibitively high, because each participant has to pay 700 rupees to enroll for a course, which is not possible for a teacher who is not getting that much of payment in a rural area. And that is for one session. And you have to do 25 hours, 50 hours of training. So, it all boils down to the economics. Now, can't we provide some free trainings or subsidized training where all this is accessible? So here comes the role of organizations, even media houses, or other organization, where a lot of resource persons get together and provide this information free of cost at a very subsidized rate, where the teachers come to know what is all this, how to prepare question papers, how to solve question papers, what is competency based, what is assertion reasoning, what is higher order thinking skills, what is blueprint. All these terms have to be clear to the educator. Then only it will come down to students. Otherwise, you are producing a textbook without results. The textbook will come and go after 10 years, but nothing is going, the achievement will not happen. So you have a beautiful learning objectives, but learning outcome is going to come zero if the educators are not trained.
Thank you so much, sir. Teacher training is something we intended to discuss. Thank you so much for touching upon it. We do have a question about the same from Sangeeta Chandrasekhar, and she says, How to strengthen teacher capability of CBA? Mere attending webinars or workshops is not helping much to become competent for teachers, also. What is the measure What is a measure taken either by CBSE or NEP to achieve in this educator community? Vidyan sir, would you like to take this?
Yeah, as Matthew sir was mentioning, it has to be a community effort. I believe strongly believe it has to be a community effort. There are we have various landscape, lot of challenges. We were mentioning. I was mentioning few. Matthew sir was mentioning few challenges. But if you see deep into uh, the problem, it is very huge. And maths teaching, enriching the capability of the teachers is the biggest task, I feel. Only if that is there, because they are the strongest link for the policy and towards implementing that. There has been there has been measures in paper, but in reality the measures are very very less. And there has to be a community participation, like media houses. You can have a lot of as we have a lot of AIs, we can develop good material, course materials as well. And uh, the community participation is very important, I believe. And others like writers can make as I was saying earlier, also make mathematics a beautiful love object. For that, various activities has to be taken across the society. Not only they need to be part of the school, they can be participating from outside. Teachers role is important. Likewise, now parents has to become educational partners as well, I believe. Only then it is possible. Government are taking steps, but that is not sufficient, and government alone cannot do this, whatever we are dreaming of, I think.
Thank you so much, sir. We have a lot of questions coming in, but we have already exceeded our time for today. We will try to get in touch with you and answer your questions through email. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And I think today, what we have learned majorly is that it is high time that we implement competency based learning, but that is also not enough. We need to ensure that students truly understand the subject. And teachers are trained. Teacher training is an important aspect which is kind of getting neglected, and students really really need to learn to visualize maths and be able to apply it to practical life, and that's how things might change for the better. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, all the
Thank you. Good
participants.
night.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.